In a world where everyone competes to showcase hypersonic missiles, unpredictable trajectories, and smart warheads that can zigzag like motorbikes in rush-hour traffic, Vietnam quietly keeps a name that sounds old. Scud-B. A missile born in the era of the Soviet Union. A system once criticized by the West as inaccurate, slow, and easy to detect. And by purely technological standards, something that should have been sent to a museum long ago. But it wasn't. It's still there. Still in service. Still appearing, only on carefully chosen occasions. So the real question is not whether Scud-B can still fly. The real question is, why does Vietnam still need it? Is Vietnam falling behind in the modern missile race? Or is Vietnam deliberately holding on to something many have forgotten? Backhand index pointing right in strategic deterrence, the most frightening weapon is not the newest one, but the one that makes your opponent hesitate to test their luck. What has Vietnam actually upgraded on its Scud-B missiles? Who stands behind those changes? And why are those upgrades kept at a level that is enough to make others think, but never loud enough to make headlines? Today, Minh Quan Story is not telling the story of an outdated missile. We are telling the story of how Vietnam turned something old into a very modern warning. To understand why Scud-B still has a place in Vietnam's defense thinking, we need to go back to where it all began. Scud-B, originally known as the Soviet R-17E, is a tactical ballistic missile developed in the 1960s. Vietnam received the system from the Soviet Union in the early 1980s, at a time when bilateral military cooperation was at its closest. According to publicly available defense records, it remains the only ballistic missile system ever officially commissioned by the Vietnam People's Army. Technically, Scud-B is not impressive by modern standards. Its range is around 300 kilometers. Its circular error probable can reach several hundred meters. It uses liquid fuel, requires long preparation times, and demands strict operational procedures. Compared to today's precision-guided missiles, Scud-B clearly falls behind. That is why many countries that once operated Scud systems chose one of two paths. Either retire them completely, or replace them with newer generation missiles. Vietnam chose neither. For many years, Scud-B almost disappeared from public view. No large-scale exercises. No flashy modernization announcements. No new performance figures. Until it quietly reappeared during major national events, not as a show of force, but as a subtle reminder that it still exists. And that raised an important question among observers. If Scud-B were truly obsolete and useless, why would Vietnam keep it in service for over 4 decades? The answer does not lie in raw technical specifications. It lies in how Vietnam understands the role of ballistic missiles in deterrence, and more importantly, what Vietnam has quietly changed inside a system that many assumed was frozen in time. To understand Vietnam's Scud-B today, one principle must be stated clearly. Backhand index pointing right. Vietnam did not turn Scud-B into a next-generation missile. Vietnam turned it into a deterrence tool suited to its own reality. And that suitability comes from 4 key layers of improvement, understated, but aimed precisely at the original system's most critical weaknesses. First point, reliability over range. The original Scud-B had a fundamental vulnerability. After decades in storage, reliability becomes a serious concern. Ballistic missiles are not small arms. They cannot be test-fired regularly. And failure at the moment of need is unacceptable. Vietnam's top priority was not extending range. It was ensuring the missile works as intended, when it matters. International defense sources such as Army Recognition have noted that Vietnam conducted deep maintenance programs, component replacements, electronics upgrades, and quality control improvements for aging Scud-B systems. The goal was simple. Backhand index pointing right, extend service life, improve technical reliability, and reduce operational risk. Not glamorous, but in deterrence, reliability matters more than performance numbers. Second point, accuracy. Good enough is good enough. Scud-B has long been criticized for poor accuracy. By modern precision standards, its CEP is unacceptable. But that criticism misses the point. Backhand index pointing right Scud-B was never designed for pinpoint strikes. It was designed to impose strategic pressure on area targets. International defense analyses show that several countries continued operating Scud-based systems by upgrading inertial guidance and integrating more modern navigation aids to reduce error to a good enough level. Defense reporting has indicated that Vietnam worked with foreign partners to improve Scud-B performance, including reducing CEP and enhancing operational effectiveness. No official figures were released. And that silence is an advantage. In deterrence, controlled ambiguity often forces adversaries to calculate worst-case scenarios, rather than rely on published numbers. Third point, mobility and survivability. In the age of satellites, drones, and persistent surveillance, any missile system that stays still for too long becomes a target. Vietnam understands this well. Scud-B is deployed on mobile transporter erector launchers, enabling concealment, relocation, and survivability. Instead of focusing on firing faster or farther, Vietnam focused on a different question. Backhand index pointing right. How do we prevent being neutralized before the missile is ever launched? International military analysts consistently note that in modern conflict, the survivability of missile systems, camouflage, mobility, deployment timing, can be more important than the warhead itself. Used correctly, Scud-B still forces adversaries to divert surveillance and defensive resources. Fourth point, the right place in the doctrine. Most importantly, Scud-B is not Vietnam's primary offensive weapon. It is not designed to open a conflict. It is not meant for frequent demonstrations. Within Vietnam's defense doctrine, Scud-B functions as a last-layer deterrent, a system that does not need to be used, only believed to be operational. Many international defense scholars agree. Deterrence does not require large numbers of ballistic missiles. Only the belief that the cost of escalation would be unacceptable. Vietnam's quietly upgraded Scud-B serves exactly that purpose. Vietnam did not turn Scud-B into a technological symbol. Vietnam turned it into a symbol of strategic restraint. Here is a question rarely asked seriously. If starting from scratch today, should Vietnam invest in an entirely new ballistic missile system instead of keeping Scud-B? Technologically, the answer might be yes. Strategically, the answer is likely not yet. Defense is not a technology showcase. It is a calculation of limited resources, geography, and defensive objectives. Vietnam does not seek power projection beyond its region. It does not need to send threatening signals abroad. What it needs is a level of deterrence sufficient to prevent miscalculation. From that perspective, maintaining and upgrading Scud-B is a highly pragmatic choice. Instead of spending billions on a new missile program, Vietnam chose to keep a system it understands deeply, master maintenance and operation, upgrade core weaknesses, and embed it within a defensive doctrine. Not flashy, but effective. The absence of detailed public disclosures is also a message. A very Vietnamese one. Backhand index pointing right. You don't have to say everything for others to listen. In deterrence, what worries adversaries most are not presentation slides, but information gaps that force them to imagine worst-case outcomes. So who helped Vietnam with Scud-B? The short answer, there are partners. The full answer, there is no single hidden hand. International defense sources speak only of foreign partners, technical cooperation, and capacity enhancement. No names. No scope. No confirmation of depth. That is not a lack of information, it is a deliberate strategy. Because in deterrence, what matters is not who helped you, but whether you control what you have. Scud-B in Vietnam evolved from a transferred weapon into a system Vietnam operates, maintains, and decides upon independently. Partners may assist. Technology may be transferred. Advice may be given. But doctrine, thresholds, and final decisions belong to Vietnam alone. That is what makes Scud-B more interesting than its specifications. While some countries buy modern weapons but remain constrained by conditions, Vietnam keeps an old system, and answers to no one on how or when it would be used. That is why Scud-B does not need frequent appearances. No loud exercises. No constant demonstrations. Its mere existence sends a message. Backhand index pointing right. There are options no one wants to force Vietnam to consider. In the end, the story of Vietnam's Scud-B returns to where it began. It is not a symbol of modern technology. It is not a tool for intimidation. And it is not meant for display. It exists as a reminder that effective defense does not need to be flashy. In a region of shifting power balances, Vietnam chooses to move slower, but steadier. To keep an old weapon, but place it within a new mindset. Not to chase technological races, but to avoid strategic vulnerability. Scud-B may never appear on trending weapons lists. But it appears where it matters most. Backhand index pointing right in the calculations of those who never want conflict with Vietnam. And that may be the most accurate measure of deterrence. If you're interested in the quiet weapons and understated strategies that rarely make headlines, stay with Minh Quan Story. Because here, we don't just talk about weapons. We talk about how Vietnam chooses to preserve peace.
And as always, this is Minh Quan Story International, analyzing global defense and geopolitics through a different lens.